Call to order the December 5th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Chino Valley. Could we have a roll call to determine quorum? That's after the quorum.
Okay. Commissioner Zamudio.
Here.
Commissioner Schweitzer.
Here.
Commissioner Metters. Here. Commissioner Welker. Commissioner Penn.
Here.
Vice Chair Pasiak.
Here.
Chair Merritt.
We have quorum. We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Penn will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item C on the agenda is the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent?
I motion to accept the consent calendar.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D is the public hearing. We have one item. It's ZC 2023-06 and CPU 2023-05. It's a request from Dane Aslow on behalf of Toy Storage Partners, Chino Valley, for a rezone approximate 3.32 acres of land from commercial heavy to commercial light, and a conditional use over approximately 7.36 acres of land for the expansion and redevelopment of the existing mini and RV storage use. Properties are located at 2535 North State Route 89, Chino Valley, Arizona. Are there any disclosures from the commission?
No.
Could we have staff presentation, please?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. Hello, fellow commissioners. Thank you. My name is Jessica Berrigan, Senior Planner for Development Services Department. And before you this evening is a request from Dane Assel on behalf of Toy Storage Partners, Chino Valley, for a rezone of approximately 3.24 acres of land from commercial heavy, CH, to commercial light, CL, and conditional use permit over approximately 7.63 acres of that land for the expansion and redevelopment of an existing mini and RV storage facility. The applicant is here today in attendance as well. The 7.63 acre subject property is generally located at 2535 North State Route 89 on the northeast of the intersection of State Route 89 and East Road 3.5 North, approximately 2 miles north from our current location. The property directly to the north and to the east of the subject parcel is currently vacant and is zoned AR5 for agricultural residential 5-acre minimum. Properties on the all other directions are all contain commercial operations currently, and they're all zoned CH and CL. Oops. The subject property also falls within the neighborhood commercial land use designation that's defined in the town's recently adopted 2040 general plan. As such, the applicant's request to rezone to the adjacent property to commercial light zoning district would be in congruence with our current general plan. A neighborhood meeting was conducted for this project. It was held on November 9th, 2023. There were no attendees. There's no opposition. We did receive a letter later regarding some concerns about light pollution for commercial developments, but there was no opposition to the actual project or the use or the location. In front of you is the proposed site configuration that the applicant is proposing. The applicant owns all the parcels and is planning to remodel and expand their existing storage facility. As you can see there, the applicant does desire to expand his facility, known as Toy Storage Partners, and they have outgrown their current facility. And approval of this request will allow them to expand into their existing operations and effectuate their existing entitlements for their operation. The business is proposing to continue the operation as per usual and the regular hours 7 to 6. To effectuate this request, all the parcels will need to be combined. In order to combine them all into one parcel and consolidate those boundary lines, the parcel will need to have the same zoning classification, which is why we're requesting the rezone, and continue the conditional use permit to continue the existing operation again. The parcel that you see to the western boundary is town-owned, and it is underdeveloped right away. The applicant intends to acquire that from the town. You can see here, for reference, the materials board. They are using materials and intending to landscape and buffer as required per standard code and conditions attached. And with that, the staff does recommend that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward to the Town Council recommendation for approval for the zone change ZC2023-06 of approximately 3.32 acres of land from commercial heavy to commercial light, and the conditional use permit over approximately 7.63 acres of the land for the expansion and the redevelopment of the existing mini and RV storage operation, contingent upon the conditions of approval that were found in your packet. And if you have any questions, I'm here, and the applicant as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission or for the staff?
Jessica, we do have the correction on that one condition.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
We do have condition number 13 of the under Public Works and Engineering. It does say concrete. We wanted to clarify the wording there. It is asphalt, concrete asphalt, A and B. I can quote the section. It is in the Unified Development Ordinance.
So they each have a copy in front of them.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the applicant want to say anything?
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners.
Please come on up to the microphone.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners. I'm Jerry Burnett with Chino Valley Toy and Mini Storage, also known as Toy Storage Partners. I'm the managing and development partner. With me tonight is Fred Lyons, another one of our partners, and Miles Roberts with Edifice Architecture. Dane couldn't be here tonight. We purchased the Fort Knox facility on July 1st of last year. We're pleased to be here tonight. I won't redeliver information that you've already got. I would like to say that we are proposing to bring a Class A facility to town, as well as to offer some storage options that don't currently exist in town, which would be, and I would also say that we are aware of other projects that have been proposed, approved, and may be underway in the area. What we propose to offer is climate-controlled self-storage, enclosed RV storage, as well as additional covered RV storage that we believe the market will support, even considering the facility that's under construction. I've been in the self-storage business for 25 years. Fred has been in real estate development for just about as long, and Edifice Architecture has extensive experience in designing self-storage and RV and boat parking facilities. And that's all I've got. I just wanted to introduce ourselves. We're obviously here for any questions, and thank you for hearing us tonight.
Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? No. You got off easy.
Okay, thanks.
Were there any public comments? Does any member of the public want to stand up and speak about this application? If not, we'll close the public comments. Does the commission have any questions? Okay, I'll close the public hearing, and now I'll entertain a motion on the zoning and the conditional use.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'll move to approve rezone ZC 202306 and conditional use permit CUP 2023-05 as presented, subject to the staff report and the revised condition of approval number 13, provided during this hearing, and the conditions of approval in attachment A.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now that closes all the public hearing items that we have. Next item on the agenda is information items from staff.
Alrighty. Good evening, Vice Chair, Commission members. Will Dingy, Assistant Director here with the Development Services Department for the town of Chino Valley. Prior cases that went to Town Council, we had the Homestead Preliminary Plat, and that did receive approval from Town Council. So that project will be going forward through the technical review process. That's our next step, and then we'll return to the Commission for their final plat approval, and then subsequently Town Council.
Thank you. The approved copy.
Thank you.
So with the general plan approved, I thought it was important for us to start looking at all of the things in the general plan that says that we need to be working on. And instead of having you write on your general plan, I pulled out the sections that we're going to be dealing with so that you can always have this document and you can always write on it and make notes and make comments. So each of the elements in the general plan is identified on the front cover. The one that we're going to be spending most of our time on is land use. We do have some things in the rest of the elements, but the land use one is going to be primarily stuff that's going to make its way through the Planning Commission. So if you flip open to the first page, it's a page from the implementation. It talks about what the Planning Commission's responsibility is in here, as well as council and citizens, but it's important for you to understand that you guys have a key role in this. It also explains the implementation timeline that is identified in the implementation plan, which is in Chapter 8. And we have short-term goals for projects, midterm and long-term. Now, the general plan is only good for 10 years. Our short-term goals are 1 to 4 years. Our midterm are 5 to 10, and our long-term could take longer than 10 years. My guess is that's probably going to be true. We have a lot of stuff to do. So it is important for staff to understand what the commission believes should be the things that we target first, because there are 3 of us and we can't do it all at the same time and do all the other projects and stuff that are going on. So if you turn to the next page, you'll see, I'm going to hand the copies out to the audience, so hold on.
Everybody else left?
The first item is updating the Unified Development Ordinance. We are going to turn the UDO back into a zoning code. And there's a lot of things that we need to update based on the general plan and based on just us working with the code and tripping on things that aren't necessarily up to speed. And Jessica will be sharing with you our dark sky ordinance as soon as I get done going through the general plan stuff, which is also in the general plan, but it's a piece that we've recognized needs to have some updates to it, but we wanted to talk about that with you tonight. Will and I are also working with the town manager to request that the council allow us to set up a couple of committees to start off with. One will be the zoning code update team. The other one is the solar power team, because you know that we had solar power companies that wanted us to take action before we even had the general plan done. Well, they're knocking at the door. And if they weren't knocking at the door, that would not be the second thing I would want to be doing. But it is something that we did put them on hold until we got the general plan done. And so it's only fair that we move forward with that piece. So those are two committees. We're asking the council next week to allow us to put committee members together, not council appointed, but just let staff pull people for advice. We will need at least one person from the Planning Commission. We are not asking for any council members to be on that committee. It doesn't make sense because they're the ones that actually take the final action on it. They should not be putting it together. So don't know if y'all want to talk among yourselves, but between now and our next meeting and figure out who's interested, who has time. It could also be like a one-year commitment and then we switch out, Planning Commission members. That can work as well. However you all want to do that. So looking also, let's continue down that page. So the very first thing is the Unified Development Ordinance, the zoning code. Super critical. The second item says, yeah, we need to update that zoning map to match the general plan map. Well, we don't get to do that unless the property owner asks us to rezone their property. So as properties come in and they are requesting rezoning, they have to match the general plan. And so that's key for us in order to get all of the pieces to flow just like our map says. Now, if you don't come in and want to rezone and you want to keep doing what you're doing, you have the right to do that. But once you come in and ask for a change, you have to meet the general plan. Yes, Will?
I was going to say that was our first case tonight, was that rezone, the very first rezone for the 2040 general plan, and went right in line with it. So
yeah, that was nice. Yeah. We need to develop land use LU.4. We need to develop guidelines to help us with some design review, helping us with community character along 89, as well as the HMU, the horizontal multi-use, the purple splotches that we have along 89. I think we have 5 of those, 5 HMUs, and each one of them is supposed to have a different characteristic, and they will require different architectural requirements and design requirements. But we don't have that put together yet. So we need to do that. We need to look at, when we're updating the zoning code, making sure that we have adequate buffers between specific types of land uses. For example, you wouldn't have a 2-story or a 3-story apartment building next to a single-family neighborhood. It's intrusive. So we would require that within certain feet of single family that an apartment multifamily would have to be single story. So there's no overlook into people's backyards and have, that's where they lose their privacy. So there's those kinds of things. There's setbacks between industrial and non-industrial. Right now we have no setbacks between certain commercials, and maybe that's okay, but maybe we need to just look at all those things. There may be some buffers that we don't have that we need to have. One of them further on, much further on, is talking about mining. Gee, that's a pertinent subject that we've had recently. And one of our policies says that we need to establish buffer standards between aggregate mining locations and development that is not compatible with mining operations. So one of the things that we don't, of course, that mine wasn't in town limits, But if it was, we wouldn't have had anything in place to help these people. So we need to make sure we have a certain distance between residential and mining. We don't have that on the books right now, but the general plan says we need to. We are required to set up an ad hoc manufactured home advisory committee to review and recommend design, placement, and development standards for manufactured homes. We need to create an updated development plan for Old Home Manor based on what came out during the discussion with the general plan, which was more focused on recreation, tourist recreation, and not as much on, business park or industrial. I know that that was probably heresy, but we've had the property for a long time, nothing's gone in. The people during the general plan process said, let's just make that a recreational draw right there. Maybe we put town hall there, maybe we put some multifamily there, because it is an HMU. Maybe we create a center there. And maybe that's where we generate some tourist draw where we can get tourist dollars, and then people are happy, and then they go home. And then that helps us keep rural Chino so we can expand on the things that we have, like the dark sky. There are a lot of people that do stargazing, and they come from places that have a lot of light pollution, and they can't see the stars. And that's a big draw for a certain group of people, just like birding, just like hiking, just like off-road. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can offer here, still keep our town, rural like we want it to be, but we generate revenue from that. But we don't change the character of who we are. So those first 3 pages, those were the implementation, and behind it are the goals and policies that were put in place that support the need for those action plans. And in those goals and policies, there's a lot more detail for staff that help us. Remember, there's the alternate land use, just in case the park doesn't go through up north. I believe that it will go through. Sounds like it's like right on the front door.
Right there, yeah.
So we're just gonna keep our fingers crossed until that's done. The next section, these are divided by the yellow sheet. So the next section is the circulation, and the parts that I think are important for us are the trails and not sidewalks as much as pathways. We've been working with engineering, Frank, our town engineer, and encouraging him to develop standards for trails and pathways more so than sidewalks. That was something that came out during the general plan process. So even though we as staff will work with them on many of these circulation things, most of them will be a public works item. There is one, if you turn to the first goal and policy, sorry, they're not page numbered necessarily, it's 4-12. So it's 2 pages after your circulation implementation. And policy C-1.3 says support beautification of State Route 89 corridor through a plan to maintain culverts, gutters, and other streetscape elements that improve community aesthetics. I see us, at least staff, getting involved with that. I'm hoping that some of this stuff we can convince Frank, even though it doesn't really have to come to you guys, that it's important for you to see it and to be able to give feedback on those things. But those are things that we're expecting to see develop and be incorporated in projects that come through. So like if we had a beautification plan in place, the project that we just saw would be part of that. We would have required specific things, whether it's specific trees or whether it's split rail fencing in the front, whatever the design style is that we've decided makes it look like rural Chino, they would have to add that piece to the front of their property. So, and you can see I'm not
that for
reading every
you?
one of these.
Is that for new or for existing?
Anytime someone wants to do additional or replace,
So what's there now is grandfathered, as long as it's within code.
it is, we may be able to develop an incentive program that could help people convert if they wanted to. One of the things that I have seen in neighborhoods is when one person updates their yard, other people go, ooh, that looks really good. And then you start seeing the rest of the block improve. My guess is that we'll see some of that on 89 as well. We are requiring an updated Parks and Recreation Master Plan. That will not be through us, it'll be through PRAB. But I'm not sure if it will come through us or if it just goes from PRAB to the council. But I think it's important. We'll make sure that when we get it, we'll let you guys see it so you can give us feedback. We do have some sections that call out requirements for developments of a certain size to provide open space parkland within their development and trails. We will be having to update our zoning code to add those provisions so that we can request that. We also need to study wildlife corridors and places where we have wildlife that needs to be protected in terms of just migration routes. So you can see I'm turning many, many pages and I'm not reading every single thing on here. This is a lot of work. I'm just highlighting the pieces that I believe are key for us. Page 5-17, which is under Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resource Element. We have under PRN-3, the goal, we have a provision in there to update the town's dark sky ordinance to guide dark sky compliant outdoor lighting and street lighting to minimize light pollution and impacts to Chino Valley's rural environment and open space. So that is something that we have started working on already. That one does not require a committee. This is something that has a lot of expertise that we are gathering, and we will be educating you and sharing that with you, and you can help us shape what that looks like that in your recommendation to council when we get that to you at that point. Frank and Public Works will need to develop a drought management plan, a stormwater master plan. There's a lot of master plans that have to be done. There's a roadway improvement master plan. There is updating our drought tolerant landscape plans for any development that comes in. We need to develop a water resource conservation ordinance, which I also believe will be in Frank's shop, not in ours. But just so that you know, there's all of these things going on. We have to update our public facilities and services plan. I am continuing to turn many, many pages.
Is the drought tolerant landscaping plan gonna involve just projects or single lot, everybody, in other words? Any new
I think ultimately
regardless
that's
of size?
going to be up to commission and the committees on what level we want to take it to.
I think on single-family homes, we don't require landscaping. On subdivisions, there's minimal. I'd like to see a little bit more done with that.
Well, just that if, wouldn't necessarily require landscaping, but if landscaping is gonna be put in, that it must be drought tolerant.
And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that within just self-regulation through CCNRs because ADWR is really being a lot more stringent on their water certs.
Yeah.
And in order to get those, they're requiring,
Is
those.
it
Seems like that should be a priority.
the mobile homes that are going in on 1 west and 3
Homestead?
south? Wasn't that part of his concessions for
Correct.
his secured water permit?
Yeah, he had a limited landscape area and then restricted plants significantly on what is allowed to based on drought tolerance.
Policy CSF 7-3 on page 6-22 under resiliency talks about establishing a committee to develop guidelines and regulations for solar energy facilities. And that is one that we are working on currently in getting the committee put together, and that will come to you for review and recommendation to council. And then the economic development piece again reiterates the need for updating the Old Home Manor master plan. And there's a provision in the goals and policies that talk about updating and improving aesthetics along major roadways by enhancing streetscapes, public spaces, and building architecture. Some of that will be taken care of when we do the HMU design guidelines, those purple spots, because almost all of them are along Highway 89. But then there's the spaces in between that we still need to address. And we need to have design guidelines in order to do that. We were also talking earlier this year about, on staff, about updating our landscape code and getting some recommendations from landscape architects. Most of the plans that come in are usually done by engineers with a canned plan where they put the site plan on and they say, we need 10 trees, we need 18 bushes, and it just scatters the plants, and it's not a thoughtful presentation of really where the plants should be, the type of plants that need to be together, how you can make fewer plants look like more plants, sizes and things. So we're going to attempt to get a landscape architect to help us with that kind of guideline. So I'm going to put that in my budget this next year and see if we can get someone to help us with that. Because there's some really cool ideas that we can do with drainage that don't look like a drainage ditch. And we don't need to look like we are a drainage ditch. I mean, we can do some really cool things and make this town look really awesome, and it doesn't take that much more to take that extra step.
Or cost that much more.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's just more thoughtful thinking about how to actually implement these things. And we had a meeting with a landscape architect who's working with the water master plan that Frank's working on, and she sat with us and we were giving her our code sections and talking about things, and she had some amazing ideas that could be really, really wonderful here in Chino Valley. So I know this was a fast track through all of these things. And I am fine if you want to take these home and we want to talk about it at the next meeting. Wanted you to know the 2 or 3 that we're starting to work on. And I would love to have all of these things working at the same time, but that's not going to be possible for us. So it would be helpful for us, beyond the 3 things we've already started, it would be helpful for us to understand what you as a commission think are the most important pieces for us to be looking at. So, Mr. Chairman, that is my presentation for tonight.
Thank you. And the next item is the dark sky ordinance.
Good evening again, Chair. Oops, is it on?
Red light.
Good evening again.
No, it's not on.
Good
Now it
evening.
is. There you go.
Thank you. Um, Commissioners, again, my name is Jessica. I'll be presenting again. I appreciate you joining us in our discussion today for preserving our dark skies and revisiting our outdoor lighting ordinance. Myself, as well as Will Dingy, will be presenting to you this evening. So what you're looking at right now is an image of the sky glow, and what we were going to be talking about is light pollution. So to piggyback on what Ms. Lynn Berry went over in the general plan, actions on implementations and administration of the outdoor lighting regulation is a direction of our town council. And this is as we carry out and incrementally the compliance with our newly adopted 2040 Make It a Chino general plan. Our town's vision statement here shows that we do emphasize the preservation and desire the preservation of the natural ecology here in the town of Chino Valley. And starry night skies are of a priority, as you can see. The pyramid shows that, just to give you perspective, that we're at the general vision level where we're ready to implement this plan and get our vision together so that we can ultimately become certified in becoming a dark sky certified community and kind of going in that direction. So what is light pollution? I'm going to give you some infographics here. I know they're going to be provoking thoughts and discussions. This is a very multidisciplinary approach to this issue of light pollution. It involves various professions. So this is just an overview to give you a broad perspective of the types of problems that we're going to be facing, potential solutions, and then going off from there. So light pollution is artificial light, excessive and a poor use of man-made outdoor light. It wastes energy, disrupts natural patterns of wildlife, contributes to the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, disrupts the systems of all living beings, and obscures the stars in the night sky. Light pollution affects the night sky up to 150 miles from the source of the light. So as you can see in the images here, various types of uses of the lights, the effects on nature, and things that we could do, small and large. So here are the four components of light pollution that our code is tackling, that we can start thinking about buffering up our system to be a little bit more flexible to allow new development and existing development to bring into compliance. So as you can see here, there's 4. Urban sky glow, which is what the outcome of the images that you saw earlier for the lighting pollution map. Light trespass, glare, and clutter. So this is an image to show you what a useful light would be, what a glare area would be, where the horizontal plane is, where we want to stay below. It gives you kind of a illustration of good lighting, and just to give you some more background and a visual. More types of lighting again. This is an actual image of a town, and the night glow, you can see how it's obscuring visibility to the sky, to the night sky. And just to give you some more thoughts on that. Some of the most commonly reported issues in our town locally is light trespass in residential areas. So this is another example of what light trespassing would be when light is spilling over into adjacent properties. The Bortle dark sky scale is used to indicate what level of light pollution that is being observed. So I'm going to be showing you some images that will be showing you on this scale of measurement. So just for perspective, this is a pollution map showing the difference in the last few decades. And you can see it has increased quite significantly. There's a lot that we can really venture off into, but we'll move on to the next slide. So this is a regional level of the pollution map. You can see where it is circled the Chino Valley in relation to the surrounding jurisdictions here. To get more local, we're looking at the light pollution data from 2012 in Chino and the difference 10 years later. You can see that the intensity was more amplified in the 89 state Route 89 corridor. And I'll be having Will chime in his very extensive knowledge of the town and the uses located in some of these areas that are showing significant glow.
Right. Excuse me. Good evening again. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you do see that light pollution of what it is today here in Chino Valley. It's primarily focused along 89. That's our commercial corridor. You're obviously going to get a lot more lighting there. And then it extends off into the east, and that's where you're going to see a lot of that urban light pollution going on through the higher density developments. That's where, Chino Meadows, Highlanders Ranch, and then Bright Star is. That's where you get that ultimate concentration. Jess, if you go back one slide to show the region, one more, please. So you can see that, while we do have a smaller impact than Prescott and Prescott Valley, we are actually kind of on par with them, which in my opinion, is a little extreme for Chino Valley. The only areas we have streetlights are along, 89, specifically roundabouts, and then the only community that we really have streetlights are Bright Star, or is Bright Star. And so a lot of this is a lot of, there is the commercial end, but then it's a lot of single family with those wall packs on the light on their side of their house, overlapping lighting, light trespass that are it really impacting the Chino dark skies, which is incredibly important to Chino citizens. So if you go forward 2 more, please, Jess.
I think when we were talking about that today, it startled us to realize how much is just single-family homes on large acreage, how much light is being generated cumulatively to make this kind of an impact in terms of light pollution.
Do you have any idea what time this was?
Unfortunately, we do not. I was looking at that, trying to figure out when.
Because, I'm east,
Right.
one south, I'm all the way to the east. So, yeah, maybe at 7 o'clock you can go out and
You
see a
see
couple
a
lights
ton of
on.
lights,
But if I
yeah.
get up at 1 in the morning,
You're not.
it's black.
Good. And that's what it should be. Our code, while it needs improvement, our current code technically designates the dark sky hours as 11 to 5. So you should have very minimal during that hours or during those hours. As far as where I would really like if they have time stamped it. I think it was over a period of time. Because if you look at the left-hand side, northeast corner there, we've got some light out at the college. So I don't know if they're trying to figure out if they were doing like night lineman practice,
Yeah.
or the Equine Center had, you know, an event. They had their arena lit.
Could have been a night range. At the
Yeah,
range and-
there's so many different things, and you know, you know, as we go through the discussion and the crafting of the update, we'll have a lot more time. We're looking at getting in drone photos, you know, going up and taking real, you know, statistical, put your hands around it, images on what the impacts are, what we're seeing. You know, do the arena lights impact more or less, or how often? Are we really getting an issue right at 8, 9 o'clock, or is the issue really subsiding? Are people really adhering to it? On that left-hand side again, you can see 3 kind of central cores right along 89. That the one right in the middle, that's going to be our 2 North Safeway complex, which you know, you typically expect that with a commercial center. But if you look at the north and the south, those are the pot farms. So
Yeah, glowing all night long.
yeah. So that while they don't necessarily have outdoor lightings, they have indoor lights that project into the sky. So we need to make sure our ordinance is crafted to ensure that that is not an impact.
Mm.
So there's a lot going on. I'll go ahead and turn it over back to you.
I just wanted to mention that the map statistic or the map pollution data looks like it's collected over a period of time on an annual basis. This is all public information. Various astronaut groups also put this information online as nonprofits. So we're able to, there's a slew of information. If darksky.org has linked you to everything. So unlimited resources in that, but you can also do your own search other than going there. But they have very much consolidated a lot of very great information and scholarly articles on light pollution, the impacts, and some resolutions to that.
Say it's pretty overwhelming, the amount of knowledge and information out there in dark sky. It's it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Will.
Absolutely.
So Will has a lot more background knowledge, more intimate knowledge on the operations and the uses going on in the community. Excuse me.
And did I hear you say you're gonna try to get a certification?
I think that's our, ultimate goal would be to be certified as a dark sky community.
And is that a state certification or a federal?
That would be federal. Only 40 in the entire world, I believe, at this current date.
Nice. Is
I'll have to
Flagstaff-
check for up to now.
Flagstaff?
Flagstaff was the #1 community that started the movement, so to speak.
Oh, they have the observatory there.
That's correct, yes.
Well, I know personally, I wish they'd outlaw the bright chrome on vehicles. Not only at night for your headlights blinding you, but daytime, the sun hits just right. And I mean, you're literally blind going down the road because the sun reflects off of somebody's chrome bumper.
I think a lot of of course, on 89, a lot of it's vehicle.
That's one piece that we weren't sure about this map. Does that show car travel? We weren't quite sure on that. So that's where we're going to start getting that more hands-on data. We'll be working some night hours, which isn't too hard at this point in time, but just to kind of
That's
see.
true.
Yeah.
Kind of strange. I do see a consistent dark spot there on Reed, kind of North Reed
I
there.
think that's the state land behind the elementary and the middle school
Yeah.
where there's nothing there. So all of that around there, because you know that parcel's a lot larger. So all of that there is just that urban trespass, that light trespass, just from the school, the fire district, from town facilities along that eastern boundary, and then the north, south, and west are all from residential. And then, there's absolutely 0 streetlights out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move on to looking at our jurisdiction, our code and surrounding codes and what they entail or are implementing currently. So we do not currently in our code have any kind of regulation on Kelvin color or temperatures. The image that you're seeing is looking at Kelvin color temperatures and the equivalents in LED. So currently Prescott, Cottonwood, and Camp Verde are at what the International Dark Association recommends, which is 3,000 kelvins. And Sedona and Flagstaff have taken a little bit further and limited to 2,700 kelvins.
That alone makes a huge difference.
Yes. So just to give perspective and visuals on the extent here.
You can kind of see just those two different.
It's a
That's
great
like
example.
5,000, and that's like
Yep.
And that's just
3,500.
interior lighting.
yeah. But I mean, it's dramatic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. The more blue, the harsher it is on wildlife and plants, and actually on us. That's the thing. That's the light in your cell phone that doctors are now saying we should not be using our cell phones late at night because it disrupts our sleep cycles. And so that's why sometimes people have glasses made with that blue filter on them so it doesn't disrupt that aspect of your sleep.
Yeah, computer screens too.
Yes, absolutely.
Big time.
So the brighter and the bluer the light, the higher the Kelvin. If you get too low, you can't distinguish colors. And for safety purposes, it's not smart for us to be at 2,700 or 3,000, in my opinion, as a single female who has to walk around by herself at night many times in many places. If something happens and the police have to come and take a report, the lower the Kelvin, the less likely you are to figure out what color the car was that hit you. I mean, you truly cannot distinguish colors. What color jacket? I don't know. It looked kind of orange. You know, everything looks orange. So I think we need to have a balance between the safety aspect for animals and the safety aspect for humans.
And maybe different for different areas.
True.
I know Glendale, down in Phoenix area, Glendale went to those orangey lights
They're
for a
awful.
while. It not only affected color, it made a lot of people nauseous.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And they had to change the light bulbs
Yeah.
again.
Yes, there have been many studies that showed the health effects on human beings as well, and the disruption to our ecosystem in general. And not to mention that it's a huge waste of energy and money as well. So some of the towns, Flagstaff and Sedona in particular, have more stringent rules in this regard. And I believe that there are lighting zones for Flagstaff too that were identified in the code. And so they vary in what they allow as far as intensity. So that's something to, keep in mind. So just broadly speaking on what our current code says, we currently don't require any kind of retrofitting or compliance on alterations or anything that is lower than 25% threshold. That means less than 25% of your existing structure. If you're adding on less, if it's a brand new, then you need to comply. But so our threshold, the only other cities that have that is, I believe, Prescott and Wickenburg. I'll double check with that. But all the other cities do require that new projects that come in immediately come up to compliance with retrofitting their fixtures. And so the applicability in our code is something that we could probably work on to see how it could fit. We could explore that later. Approved materials and methods of construction. Some of this I think we could probably itemize better. It's somewhat ambiguous and outdated. There's some inadequate considerations to our local environment. We really do want to look at animal species, migration patterns, things like that. So we want to look at various aspects of this. But in order to be able to establish more specific standards that are adequate for our community. Also measures of control, such as perhaps sensors and things of that nature, for mostly commercial, but we do want to have more encouragement and awareness and education so that people want to voluntarily retrofit their fixtures. So this shows the 5 lighting principles for responsible outdoor lighting that Dark Sky Ordinance, or the International Dark Sky Association, the IDA, recommends. Most of our neighboring communities do adopt by reference IDA standards with minor modifications, local modifications for their environment. But this kind of tells you in a briefly what the principles are, and we can go above and beyond as much as our reps and our community wants. So this flow chart shows the potential for us to go down the pathway of becoming certified. This is a benefit in many ways, not just to the ecology, but sociologically and economically as well, as people are traveling far to go to locations that do offer dark enough skies. We have a lot of people who have groups in the area that do stargazing. So we do want to pursue that eventually. We know it's baby steps, but eventually we do want to accelerate the process of applying to become a dark sky community. And then to the right of your screen, you'll see examples of some acceptable and some unacceptable type of fixtures under the IDA's recommendation. And that would help to achieve some level of night sky credibility and some more images I'm going to show you just to show some minor improvements that communities may have made in lighting retrofits for master plan communities, planned areas, specific plans, commercial. It looks like this is a multifamily or development or residential development. Another example here to show for perspective, an unshielded light. You can see how it impacts the surrounding, a shielded light, and then no lights at all. So this is an image that I took from Discover Chino. Chino's off in the distance, but you can see we do appreciate our dark skies. The community appreciates the dark skies, and we don't want to lose that, so we want to save the sky. And with that, I think we're open for further discussions. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any
That was
questions?
very good.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the intention of this will be to continue this discussion, bring this item back for further refinement, hopefully get some code on paper to have you guys start mulling it over, and we'll beat it to death. We'll beat it to death again, and then we'll get it before council.
Is this something you're considering having a committee on, or?
At this point, no. It was just going to be a staff directive. But yeah, I think it's something it'll take some time, but it's something within our scope and work capacity at this point.
Will it be something that any new buildings from going forward will have this implemented?
Once we get that adopted, correct.
That'll be great.
The next item on the agenda is information items. Does the commission have any information items for the public?
No.
I have none. Does any member of the public want to come up and?
Mr. Chair, also remember that you guys get January
Yeah.
off.
Yes.
There will be no meeting in January. The next meeting will be February 6th, 2024. And now the last item, adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 adjourned.
Oh, I'm driving around. I've seen two little like, backyard observatories. And there's one over in Chino Meadows too. Yeah, I was surprised by that one. It's kind of up on a hill there. Like just enough room to kind of get in there and.
You really can tell when you look south towards Prescott Valley, that huge glow, yeah.
Yeah, you can't even see the fireworks very well anymore. So does
Christmas, everybody.
Good night. Do you turn this off?
Have a good holiday.
Oh, okay.
You also.